75% of the drivers globally are going on strike every year to ask for a fair pay. If mobile application was supposed to bring us closer, give them more rights, why he's still making the same money that he was making without the mobile phone applications? That in itself tells you that something has gone wrong. The idea is very simple, and it's something that resonates very much with the concept of Bitcoin in itself, like decentralization and control their own money. Where I saw that, okay, there's a driver and a rider who are sharing value among themselves, but when it comes to sharing the reward, there's a third party who takes away a lot from the ecosystem. We're just trying to do things right by giving drivers access to the income that they deserve. So that's what Drife is all about.
Firdosh, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No, it's such a pleasure having you on the podcast because we first met in Dubai when you came for our We Are DePIN event for Token 2049, which was an absolutely amazing event. We battled the weather. It was a great event that we thoroughly enjoyed. And ever since
Exactly.
then, I personally been following your journey in terms of what you guys are doing in terms of the transportation space. And yeah, really excited to be joined by Adam as well on the Minima side to talk about all things Drive, all things Minima and Drive, and the future of DePIN as well, which is massively exciting. So I would love to kick off in terms of for people who don't know, what is Drive?
Sure. So Drive is a decentralized ride-hailing platform. We call ourselves also Taxi 3.0. That is very similar to Web 3.0. The idea is very simple, and it's something that resonates very much with the concept of Bitcoin in itself. Like why Bitcoin was created in the first place was to curb the centralization and give people access to control their own money. Where you and I, if we want to transact between each other, we don't have a centralized party that controls transaction between us. And that's a similar problem I saw in the ride hailing industry, where I saw that, okay, there's a driver and a rider who are sharing value among themselves, but when it comes to sharing the reward, there's a third party who takes away a lot from the ecosystem. And that's what Drive is trying to solve. We're just trying to do things right by giving drivers access to the income that they deserve. It's driver who spend endless hours behind the wheel, and they deserve to earn the money that we as rider pay. So that's what Drive is all about, empowering the driver and rider community and giving them access to the money that they deserve to earn.
Mm. And Adam, on your side, when did you first hear about Drive on your side?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a really excellent case study of what can be done with the sharing economy. We learned about Drive about a year ago, and we met only recently when we hosted the event in Dubai. So it was really good to meet Firdosh and the team. And what is so exciting is that there's a huge buzz around DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure, but they have gone so much further because it's actual vehicles that are participating in the economy. And of course, it's people involved, but the whole ecosystem revolves around trusting that the value transfer between people through a service that's being provided. So it fits extremely well with people's desire to monetize value that they create, and as Vidosh was explaining, removing the middlemen taking the fees when this can just be done peer to peer.
Yeah, it's quite funny because you have, before say Uber and Bolt and Lyft, those guys existed. You had a situation where a lot of taxi drivers were waiting around basically for their next job. And that's when the I guess taxi 2.0, as you described it, came along, Uber, Lyft, those guys. And they completely changed the market. I think loads of case studies were written in terms of, should we allow Uber? Are they disrupting the industry? Is should we allow them in terms of, because it's free market, or is it actually hurting taxi drivers in the long run? There was so much discourse around it, and I would love to hear your take in terms of, I guess, why is the current system broken, and where does a decentralized solution come into it?
Sure. So if you look at how this industry has evolved, I'll say there's three generation, and that's why we also call us as Taxi 3.0, because for us, like there was Taxi 1.0 and 2.0, and we are 3.0. So there was nothing wrong if you go back in 2000s. There was nothing wrong how taxis were working at that point. Like you get on the road, you wave your hand, two taxi comes, you negotiate with them, you get in one of them, and you move. And then after the whole internet era of, where we start speaking about internet and the ease of getting things at your doorstep, that's where Uber came into picture, where they said like, okay, you don't have to like go on roads now to get a cab. You can do it sitting at your home and cab will come to you. That's what changed with internet or mobile based application. And they did fairly really good job, I'll say. They have created the industry for us in the first place where people can now book a cab using their phone. Now, in that journey of doing that, there's a gap that has been created now, because if you look at Uber or version of Uber across the globe, everybody's working on a similar business model of where they charge huge commission from both the driver and rider. At one point, if you look from, Uber level also, you feel that there's monopoly that exists in this ecosystem now. So initially when we spoke about like, okay, when Uber was starting, everybody said like, okay, they're gonna hurt the existing taxi ecosystem. And now what we feel is that now it is hurting the driver ecosystem that they have created. 75% of the driver globally are going on strike every year to ask for a very basic thing, that is a fair pay. There are a lot of litigation cases that is going on across the globe. But just keep that aside as well. If you look at the industries and all the ride-hailing companies that are big enough, they're multi-billion-dollar companies. But if you look back at drivers, has driver situation changed over the years? No. They're still struggling to make their livelihood. A same driver who was working 16 hours a day and was getting 8 or 9 jobs in a day without mobile application, he still works 16 hours a day and do more rides, still make the same money. That in itself tells you that something has gone wrong.
Hmm.
That's why if mobile application was supposed to bring us closer, give them more rights, why he's still making the same money that he was making without the mobile phone applications. And that's why we feel there's a need of decentralization in place, because we have lived in that world of centralization for a very long time, and every industry needs an upgrade. For me, decentralization in the mobility space is an upgrade to how we have been interacting with this application. Okay, there was a time when we needed someone to control everything because everybody was so naive. Driver won't understand how to use the application. Rider won't understand. So we needed a centralized party. But as and when we have grown into this world where now you have this players who now control everything and anything in the ecosystem, we need to get out of that zone and allow driver and rider to connect with each other. And for me, it's an upgrade to how this industry has evolved. And maybe in future, something else will happen that will replace us as well. So I guess
Hmm.
everything has to go through that cycle of maturity and something new comes. And we are at that stage where decentralization, not just for mobility industry, but for across, we all are, are the people who are about decentralization. We talk about decentralization. So we are those people who are working on bringing decentralization. It is similar to how there were a bunch of people who are working on bringing internet era.
Hmm. And I think the main thing that I sort of understood from your explanation there is the Web 2 experience has definitely given rise to a lot of middlemen businesses. You have
Correct.
Airbnb, you have Uber, you have all these middle in the hotel industry as well. There's so many of them. Uh, There's so many middlemen uh, business models that exist right now, and they make a lot of money. Like it's a very lucrative business model if you scale, right? It's a very
Correct.
difficult thing to compete with also when it's two-sided. Now what you're saying is what happens in the process is the middleman takes too much of the share, and actually the supplier or the buyer, someone gets hurt if not both get hurt. And
Correct.
but then other people might say, well, it's a business. At the end of the day, they have to make money. So my question to you guys is, how do you actually
Correct.
make it sustainable to be a decentralized solution?
See, to start with, if you look at, for example, Uber was not charging 30, 45% from day one. They started with also like charging very less commission, but they built the whole ecosystem where they have spent like billions of dollars. If you look at their balance sheets, most of the money that you see is the money that's spent to create this ecosystem, like to start with even like buying phones and giving it to drivers so they have a smartphone in the place. That's kind of a money that has been gone into this industry to build this industry. Now, there's two ways of doing business. One is the capitalized approach, where there's investor money that you pour in, pour in, pour in, and keep pouring in the investor money to build that ecosystem, uh, expecting that one day we will have so many users, and then when we cut off from the incentive, they will still keep using the application, which is not the reality, because when you mature to that level, when you have pumped all the money into the building the ecosystem, someone new comes in and they start doing the same thing, and nobody wants to use your platform. Now they want to use a new platform. And I guess that's where decentralization and the whole incentive ecosystem done right will bring so much value in bringing loyalty. The competition is not about who is doing a job better, it is about who has more loyal customers. Will a user who has used Drive and Uber on same day comes back to Uber or Drive without a discount in place? That's the whole competition is about. Like, will I come back to your platform or their platform when there is a no incentive in place? And that is more about loyalty that you have to build for your own product. And I guess the decentralization and the network effect that you build for yourself, where the network create and generate rewards for everyone that is involved, and the money of the community stays in the community. That's where you slowly and gradually reach to that level where you have more loyal users, both on the driver and the rider side, because the capitalized approach, we have seen it mature to a point and then fall. Or the company then start navigating into building something new because they already have this users. Let me get money for something else and do something new. That's the whole cycle. If you look at any company that has become a multi-billion-dollar company or reached to an IPO stage, that's what happened with everyone. So, if you start building loyal customer base from day one, by giving them that kind of trust, that belief that, okay, I am not going to get fooled by this platform, or there is value in for me in terms of how I use the application. I have all the freedom to decide for myself, because now people are getting slowly and gradually mature and understanding the value of how I'm being exploited, like how people actually made so much money from my data, like very basic of, for years people have been using our data, selling it, and made fortunes of money. But did I or you as a user got anything out of it? The answer is no. So we need to, it's going to be a more of an educational challenge again, the whole cycle of making people educate, but slowly and gradually, as soon as people start getting aware of their rights, what they can do, and what is possible in the first place, we will start seeing the shift. And this shift has to happen in a more decentralized way, more democratized way, not centralized way. And I think it's going to be a slow process. It's not going to, because a lot of time we see with crypto projects where they start with like giving huge rewards, they also fall down because then they don't have rewards to pay back to the
Yeah.
users. You can get your first 100,000 users by giving them so many tokens for free, but what happens beyond that? So building that whole incentive cycle in a way that a money is getting generated from the community efforts itself and getting distributed among community will actually build sustainable business. And token reward system is the best because there's a value that you can derive from it, not just within your platform, but outside as well.
Mm. I want to ask one more question before bringing Adam. I think you articulated that very, very nicely. But I guess on a practical basis, because I know a lot of people will be skeptical of this, given that Uber does, and all the other ones, they do have a fairly large market share, and they've sort of dominated the space for a number of years. Even though their licenses are being challenged in a lot of capital cities across the world, as you definitely know. So practically right now, how does the service like work? What sort of traction is there? And I guess in a very, very near term roadmap, we'll talk about the future in a bit later on in the episode, but what does it look like at the moment?
So for us, we're already live in India, and with the very small amount of funds that we raised three years back, we have 35,000 drivers in the platform, 300,000 plus users in the platform. That's where we stand, only with one city in India. We're going live in Dubai next month as well, and we're now licensed by RTA in UAE as well. So, in places like, example, like Bangalore in India, where we are licensed, Uber does not have a
Mm.
license. We are among the very few company who got licensed in UAE as well. So our approach is more being compliant, stay compliant, start slow, work on a model which is more about building community of drivers and riders, slowly and gradually grow, not in a way that, I want 100,000 of download on day one when we want to launch, because it's gonna fall apart very easily. And because we're not that big as compared to them, they're like huge players. They can spend 10 100x of money that we want to spend, so we have to be very logical, very strategically. We have to plan everything, that we want to do things in this way that somebody else won't come and hurt us because just they have more money. So we're going slow, but making sure that what we are building is solid enough, be it with the city that we're operating in India or the next cities. We have like three more cities going live in India this year with Dubai. There's one more international city for which we have already applied for our license and it's in process. So that's the roadmap for this year that we have. We have so much that we are working on at this point for building the pipeline for next
Mm.
year as well. But our approach stays the same, that we want to go to a city, because at the end of the day we are Web3. Okay, if somebody's like, okay, this is a Web3 company, they cannot run, that's very easy for us to get like banned anywhere. So we have to make sure that everything is in place, fully licensed, fully regulated, then go and launch yourself
Mm.
in that city you want to go.
But the good news is, Adam, that the business model works. Like you can make
Yeah,
mobility decentralized, which is an amazing thing to see. So on
yeah.
your side, Adam, I know Minim has done a lot of partnerships with automotive companies, so I know it's a space that you know very well. In terms of just generally the future of transport, where do you see it in a decentralized manner?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And we have been working with the OEMs and with the future of electric charging and mobility as a service. And so this fits extremely well as one of the offerings. I mean, with EV charging, the challenge is that there's not enough public infrastructure to support all the number of EV cars that are going to come on the road in the next 10 years. And so we're working on a project where private wallbox owners can rent out their charge to other EV owners. And that way, the private infrastructure becomes part of the public network. And I think that Drive is such a great example because, as Firdosh says so well, most of these projects where people tokenize a service starts off bootstrapping the product and people get rewarded in tokens, but quickly it dries up. The value dries up because there's no more funding. Whereas this is a service which people will continue to want. I mean, a taxi ride is something that is never ending, the need. So that is a very important aspect, that it isn't just putting something on a blockchain and getting a crypto token. What we're doing here is allowing users to transact peer to peer with a trusted means of interaction, and that then allows you to build other use cases, other value. And I think that the we needed this stepping stone. We needed Uber to forge 2.0 to show that it's possible for essentially a stranger to get into another person's car without the logo of a big taxi company behind it. And now this is saying, well, now we don't even need the Uber logo. We can say we are able to choose who we ride with, get the assurance that this taxi driver also is credited, because, of course, you build, as well as a loyalty scheme, you build the same recommendation scheme into the app. So it does fit extremely well with this move away from car ownership to car usership. And this taxi service and ride sharing is very much part of the way that we're going to start using mobility in the future.
Mm. No, that sounds amazing, and it sounds like there's definitely room for synergy. I mean, we've talked about this in terms of other DePIN projects and how they work together, and the collaboration is so good within this sort of subsection of Web3. Um, what does the sort of roadmap of Drife and Minima look like?
Okay,
I guess,
well, I mean, I think, okay, you
yeah,
go
please go
first.
ahead. No, I guess you said it right in terms of deep in projects having this synergy and how well it can work. And for last few months, I've been speaking with a lot of deep in project, understanding what they're doing, how Drive user can become the users for other projects. And for me, throughout the journey of building Drive, I wanted to see like how I can bring more and more value to driver community, how they can earn more passive income for themselves. And the more I started interacting, I realized, okay, we're sitting on gold mine. Drivers who are on road are generating the kind of data that everybody is looking for, and they are our default customer, and everybody would want them to be part of their ecosystem. So we started like speaking with more and more projects and seeing that how the collaboration can exist. And I guess that was the conversation we were having with Minima as well, that how we can actually incentivize driver. Because for me, it's always that I want to bring value to the driver and see how we can add more value to the drivers and do it in a very simple way, because I can't go and educate them about crypto and other stuff, but do it in a very simple way that they still can earn passively. And that's what we are exploring as well, to see how we can monetize drivers for the kind of data that they generate, not just on the locations but vehicles. There's huge
Mm.
data that has been generated by drivers.
Yeah. What about on your
Yeah.
side, Adam?
Yeah, so we are already working on a mini dApp, an app that runs on Minima for all of our users. I mean, we have 100,000 Minima node runners around the globe, and we are able to provide an app where they can join the ecosystem. They can benefit from discounts from the Drive rides, and it also, because Minima is feeless, it allows a very friction-free way to transfer tokens across our network. So we see huge possibilities for strong collaboration, growing the ecosystems, but equally regarding the data sharing and the value that's going to come from sharing information about the road conditions, about even weather, all of these extra value that's gained by vehicles on the road. Our core strength really is that Minima works embedded in devices, and so we can actually attest the data as it's generated. So that adds huge value to the data sets. So we absolutely see the vision of the roadmap with Drive of adding lots more services over and above just
Mm.
taking the ride. It'll basically improve the conditions in cities for city planning. Add to sensor data. This is actually just the beginning of a very important use case of mobility as a
Mm.
service.
And a question I want to ask the both of you actually is, everyone talks about, especially in this current wave of crypto and this sort of the market that we're in right now, is how do we get more people onboarded onto Web3? It's still a very, very early space. And I think it was also the narrative of the last cycle, I would say. But
Mm,
with the rise of RWA and DePIN projects, I'd say it's a real catalyst for getting new people on with on the Web3 wave. Now, from both of you saying, there's ton of value for decentralizing transport and for both riders and the drivers. Now, what do you see in terms of the biggest challenge in scaling this sort of solution? Because you have to get to a certain level of critical mass of the network effects of having a certain level of drivers and a certain level of riders, etc., for there to be any value whatsoever. So what do you see the sort of the biggest challenge when it comes to scaling this? I'll ask you first, Firdosh.
I guess scaling something like this require also the chain that you're using to be that scalable, because it has to be something that grows together. I guess the kind of rides that Uber is doing today, no blockchain today can support. If
mm,
you have to reach to that scale, so it will mature slowly and gradually. It took Uber also like 15 years to reach where they are, and we are very new to talking about this also, like, okay, we need to build things that can scale. till now, it was just an idea that blockchain can actually build a real world project. Somebody will actually put the real world product on chain. That's something that was still an idea. It's only very recent that we started saying like, okay, it is possible. People are doing it. For example, like Drife as a project actually build something that is a application that is part of daily life of people. Products which are daily life products and application. I feel like application that are part of your mobile phone that you never delete. When we started building more and more products like that, which are part of my life, food delivery app, ride hailing app, those kind of applications, then we will also see the kind of uh, request that we will come to blockchain. Like even like for normal web 2 application, they never build to scale on the first day. They scale slowly and gradually. They build the infrastructure slowly and gradually to scale to a level that I can do 1 million ride a minute. But that was not what Uber was doing on day one when they actually started Uber. The same's gonna go with the Web3 product and also with the infrastructure that we are built on, be it on any chain that you're built on, it will grow along with you. So that's a challenge, and it's a opportunity also that there's a space to grow both for chain and for Web3 project. But it has to happen, and people have to not give up on building something
Mm,
like this. I have seen like myself, like Uber on blockchain as a concept been spoken for a very long time. Ever since we are hearing about Bitcoin, I guess early books you read, they talk about Imagine Uber on blockchain.
Mm.
However, never we saw a product going to that level where it can scale. Uh, Among all the projects that I've heard about, we are the first one to be live and run for such a long time also and have that kind of user base also. Like even like we're very small, but we're still very big in the Web3 space because of having that kind of user base. So it is about the ecosystem as a whole, not giving up on the infrastructure. Because then it's like, okay, it's not possible. Maybe, okay, I want to do my business. I'll keep doing my business. Let go of blockchain. A lot of people have done that because it cannot scale to that level where you were scaling very fast. So bringing that balance is
mm.
very important.
Just quickly, Adam, before you
Mm.
jump in, like, so what's the added complexity of using blockchain in terms of scaling? So why did so many founders just start with the intention of making business models decentralized and then decided to go against that? What's the added challenge?
That was for Dish
No, for Firdosh,
or
yeah.
for me. Yeah.
I guess I'll just give you a very basic example. Now you are building something that's already there in terms of business. Say example, we building Drive, okay? Now your user experience always get compared to the Web 2 version of what you're building already exists. Example for us, Uber. Now I'll give you example of we not using blockchain for a long time for our ride journey was very basic that the time that we are taking to calculate fare on chain is taking forever. Even if it is
Mm.
like 10 second, Uber sends it in milliseconds. User compare that experience and that their first hand experience. Will you and user has gone so fast in their experience today with all their experiences with Web2 application that they don't even want to wait for 10 seconds for you to give them a transparent, fair calculation on chain. And that's where you see a lot of people dropping. And that has happened with a lot of projects who tried doing that. I guess now at this point, we're sitting at a very better situation as compared to year or two back. A year or two back, when we were trying to do that, it was like taking 30 seconds for us to just get a calculation back from chain because there's like it's not it travel back from chain to back end to front end and then to show the user, and the maximum time it is taking just from coming back from chain smart contracts to give us the calculation back. Will I use that application? The answer is no.
Mm,
Then how can I actually build it and sell it to the people? Because then I'm just wasting my time, energy, and money building that. So I guess user experience in terms of what we are competing with is Web 2, which is way too fast in user experience. And I've like tried all the chains that we have worked on, and now we're working with Sui at this point. And the kind of shift that we have seen that we had in terms of the calculation time has like now reduced so much that we now feel comfortable that yes, the right journey can go on chain. So a lot of people have given up till like last year or 2022 is because of this very reason. When I compare switching on and switching off the blockchain, the user experience has 10x of the difference, and people won't use the application because of how slow the application can be, even if it is just 10 seconds.
That's a really interesting answer. So it's more of a tech issue right now rather than because that
It
leads into the
is.
user experience. That's really interesting. Wow. And then
Correct.
from your side, Adam,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a very good answer, and basically, I would say to get adoption, you need it to be seamless, and you need it to be easy, and you need a one click, and you need a good user interface. So it's all about the user experience. So ultimately, success for us is when people don't know that they're using blockchain. It's just technology that runs in the background. It simplifies transactions, and then you get your service. And so adoption is going to come when we've got a very, very simple app. It just does the basic function that you require without any of the complication that's displayed. You know, you just want people to understand that they booked their ride and it's safe and it's secure. And so, you know, the speed of transaction is a critical element. Obviously, you need settlement. Also, you need the ability to be able to validate the the data, and in this case, validate the proof of payment. So again, that's why there's a lot of future potential for our integration with Drive, where you know Minimo is a fully decentralized peer-to-peer blockchain. So all transactions take place locally, and you don't have any centralized servers. So there's no delay, and there is no also importantly no risk of attack because you've removed the centralized authority. And so I think there's a lot of really interesting use cases that are going to come out of these combined technologies where the owner of the owner of the payment receipt, uh, you know, without question is the right receipt holder. So yeah, adoption is going to come when the user experience is just seamless and easy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with both of you. But again, that's an overarching business thing. It's not, you know, just for Web3 or Web2. It's for just business in general, right? Um, so I
Exactly.
want to wrap up the podcast with a question to you both in terms of where do you see? Well, actually, firstly, before I ask you those questions, what's the future of Drive looking like now, Firdosh? So like going in the next like year or so, what are your plans?
I guess as I mentioned before, we have like an upcoming launch. So the first time we're going outside India, so Dubai is a huge market for us specifically because of the Web3 adoption that Dubai has, or acceptance of people freely being able to transact crypto. You guys were here for Token 24/9, like the kind of ecosystem that Dubai has built. When you start your operations in the city, you put a flag on the global map. Like everybody is looking at you because you are in Dubai. So Dubai is something that my focus is for next few months till the time we launch in Dubai. Then we have few more cities going live in India. International expansion will be something that we'll be working on for this and the next year, and that's the whole plan. But apart from that, there are a lot that we want to do in the Web3 side of the business, be it, incentivizing drivers through using the data that they're generating, or building the whole reward system on token where drivers and riders start earning DRF for every ride that they do. So that's something that will go live with Drive going live in Dubai as well. So there's, I'll say till now we are Web
Yeah.
2.5. In next 1 and 2 year will actually become Web 3.0 in our own journey of growing. So that's the whole plan from 2.5 to go to
Mm,
3.0.
nice. And Ferdish, what I normally do with the We Are DePIN podcast when I wrap up is essentially I like to ask your favorite use case of DePIN outside of what you guys are already doing. But I feel like a better question for you specifically would be, where do you see the future of mobility as a whole and future of transport as a whole? Going forward in a decentralized manner, where do you see the future going? And I'll ask the same for you, Adam.
Yeah, for me, I guess I'm a big advocate of saying that the future of mobility is decentralized future where people who are the value creators start earning what they deserve. for us it only starts with ride sharing because that's the best use case, but as this grow, there's a whole ecosystem in the mobility sphere that now when you see in the web 2 world is super apps, where the same application can allow you to order food, groceries, and everything and anything that moves. For me, everything and anything that moves start getting into that mode where it's more of peer to peer than a centralized party taking a huge cut. For me, that's the future, and I guess decentralization will play a huge role in building that infrastructure. I guess everybody who's contributing slowly and gradually, a little bit to the DePIN ecosystem will build that layer for us to be able to build those kind of applications on top of it.
Mm.
Yeah, and so I'd say the future of mobility there's two parallel streams. One is the data, one is security of the data. So in the past, when we thought about cars and we thought about human safety, we just thought about seat belts, we thought about safety airbags, we thought about physical safety. But increasingly, cyber security is equal to human safety. So the quality of the data, the security, the measures that we take to secure data is absolutely critical for the advancement of mobility. And on the retail side, we're going to spend more time sitting in cars without driving. So the ability for retail, for purchase, for value added around the experience is going to become more and more what how the industry is going to transform. So it's going to be the experience of the mobility rather than just the fact that you're sitting steering the machine. So and those things do go hand in hand because it's all about communication. It's about transferring information, both value and data, for both the user and then the owner of the vehicle. So yep, and a lot of people are working in this field. So there's going to be great changes happening in the very short time.
It's certainly really exciting for sure. So thank you both of you, Firdosh and Adam, for joining me on the We Are DePIN podcast. It was such a pleasure recording with you both. Firdosh, how do we stay in touch with you and Drife going forward? I would love to hear more about the Dubai launch, so I'm sure loads of people at home would love to as well.
I guess the easiest way is like you can always find us on Twitter and Telegram. Drive Official is our handle for both the places. Drive.io is our website, so you'll find us there. And yeah, there's so much happening. I hope we can share more and bring more value to the ecosystem.
Lovely stuff. And Adam and Minima will be in the description below, so you can definitely find the information there. But Adam, thank you so much for joining me as well. And
Thank
yeah,
you, and
chat to you both very soon.
great to meet you again,
Thank you
Firdosh.
so much.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye.
Bye.